We are going to be taking a big test on Monday, and to help you study for it, there's kind of a pre-test right here that is based off of the book that we've been reading in class, Esperanza Rising. And the reason that we're doing this is because the questions will be phrased very similar on your test. It will just be a different story. And so I want to go through and explain what each question is asking so that you feel prepared when you go to take the test on Monday. Question number one says, how does the setting affect the plot of the passage? You should have the vocabulary that we have been studying. And if you have that, then you should know that setting means the when and where, and plot is just how a story is organized. So, what this question is asking is, how does the place that they're at change the story? That's what this question is asking. And for Esperanza Rising, I want you to ask yourself, how does the setting of her being poor now and in the horse stable type shack, how does that change the story for us as the reader and for Esperanza? Question number two says, which elements of the settings in Las Papayas, that's on page 23, provide a contrast to Esperanza's dejected state? Now, there's a lot of words in here that we might think, oh my gosh. Remember that if you ever see a word that is on the test that you don't know, we have the dictionaries at each desk. Now, the word dejected is not going to be in the dictionary, remember, because we have to do just the root word. So you would look up the word deject. And that tells us that the character is disheartened or depressed. So, if we understand that Esperanza is depressed and we are looking for something in the setting that is opposite of that, then we would be looking for something that's happy in the setting, right? Because contrast means differences. Which part, we know element means part because of our vocab, which part of the setting provides a contrast or shows something opposite of Esperanza's depressed feelings. Look at page 23. If you can't find some of the chapters might be off in here, but it's the Las Papayas chapter. So find evidence that show something that's opposite of Esperanza's sad or depressed feeling in the setting. Okay, question number 3 and 4. This says part A and this says part B, so we know that these two go together. Question number 3 says, how does living in a shack resembling a horse stable impact Esperanza's negative feelings about her life? This again is talking about the setting. How is this setting impacting or influencing her negative feelings? And then question right here, part B says, give me 3 sentences from the book that support that answer. The best ones that I have found are on either page 102, 103, or 104. And again, you're looking for evidence to support how her setting is making her feel. Question number 5 says, how does Esperanza getting to know Marta influence the plot of the story? When we did POV, we learned that characters can influence each other, right? And oftentimes minor characters will do that and antagonists will do that. Marta is the antagonist, and so she's providing something to Esperanza that is helping change the story. So, how does Marta as a character influence Esperanza and so the story? What does Marta give to the story? Then down here it says, what is the conflict of the story? If you'll remember when we did the conflict, there are a bunch of different conflicts or problems that are in a story, but when it's on a test, the conflict that I am looking for is the one that causes the story. If we didn't have this conflict, there would be no story. It's not at the very beginning. That's usually exposition that gives us background information about the characters, but it's just after that something happens that changes everything for the main character. What is that conflict of Esperanza Rising? And then part B says, how does the conflict influence the story? Meaning, how does that part change the story? Question number 8 says, how does page 221 and 221 and 222 show a change in Esperanza's point of view? When it ever is talking about a change in a character's point of view, you have to look at both how they were in the beginning and how they were in the middle and at the end. You can't say, "Oh, well, she's always been this way," because you have to tell me how she was at the beginning to show me that her point of view or perspective has changed. So remember, when you're looking at the point of view, you have to understand what their point of view was at the beginning to know how it is now and how it's changed. Question number 9 says, what is Esperanza's point of view on striking? Meaning, how does she feel about it and why? And then how does Marta feel about striking? What's her point of view on it and why? And this isn't on here, but I want you to just think about whether or not you think Marta's feelings about striking have influenced Esperanza at all. Because often the antagonist will influence the protagonist, right? So once you have answered these questions, you can push submit on this. This is just for practice so that you understand what the questions are asking. Watch this video as many times as you want until you feel like you understand the individual questions.